Kicking off the list at number 10, The Man of Steel, Superman. Superman Batman Volume 1, Issue 44. The Strange Favor storyline begins with a movie shoot. How exciting, I wonder what they're filming. Well, they're filming a Superman Batman movie called World's Finest, which has a pretty good ring to it. I'm already intrigued. It feels like Tropic Thunder almost at first. These other guys are playing these superheroes. Batman's being played by a former Bond actor in that universe, Jason Wish, and he's going for it. His eyes are all watery. He's explaining this made-up origin, and Superman offside, like the Superman and the Batman, are watching them film from afar, and Batman isn't really into this whole idea. He doesn't like how they don't know his true story, and now they're just making stuff up. But Superman reassures them that it's only because they're interested in the mysterious Bat. Out of nowhere, Livewire comes in, who's almost as evil as LimeWire. Almost. And then she takes Jason as hostage, demanding that she receives half of his $12 million pay, which is a pretty big chunk of money. Robert Pattinson's only getting $5 million for the next Batman, but he's getting 20 for Batman 2, so it's okay. So the Superman flies down and intervenes, and then he gets surprised when the prop kryptonite on set gets blasted with electricity and in turn explodes, leaving pieces of Superman's only weakness stuck in his face. I love how they have real kryptonite on set. That's good, that's commitment. It's like when they use real bones instead of props in the original Poltergeist movie. What could possibly go wrong, right? Number 9, the Wasp. We'll get the appetite going right off the bat here. Okay, Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, first appeared in comics in Tales to Astonish, issue 44. Genetically engineered by Dr. Hank Pym, Ant-Man, with the help of Pym particles and biosynthetic wings, now Janet was one of the founding members of the Avengers. Not too shabby. She could generate bioelectric blasts from her hand, knocking down even the fiercest of foes. But when the Blob gets a hold of her in the Ultimatum storyline, her sting just wouldn't cut it. The story comes from the Ultimates, which is already just a darker take on all of our characters and all those stories, and in it we see Earth's mightiest meeting their violent end. As for the Wasp, during the flood in New York City, she ended up being separated from the team, and when they finally found her, it was too late. She had become a midnight snack. Hank decides to get payback in a similar manner. Giant Man then grabs the Blob and Ozzy Osbournes his head right off. Payback is gross, but necessary. And before we continue on with this list, let's brighten the mood a little bit. Maybe go and hit that thumbs up. I don't know, get some spirits back to normal. Also, it helps the channel out so much. You're the best. Thank you so much. Back to this dark list. Number 8, Batman. Coming from the 1993 Batman Nightfall storyline, we get to meet Bane in a terrifying way. He literally broke Batman. The Beast started by making Batman's worst day come to life as he freed every villain in Arkham Asylum, so now Batman's gotta try and round up all those psychopaths, which is already exhausting, and Batman's weaker now, mentally and physically. And when Bane goes to the Batcave because yes, he knows Batman's secret identity, he beats Bruce down, and when the moment is right, he lifts the Caped Crusader above his head and drops him down onto his knee, breaking his back. Now this was a huge moment in the comics. When Batman goes down for the count, the mantle was then passed along to Azrael. And we just broke down a bunch of alternate versions of Batman in the last week or two, so make sure you go and check out one of those 3 lists as well after you're done here. Batman has had quite the run in comics. Interesting time. Number 7, Spider-Man. Coming in hot from the Amazing Spider-Man 700.3, The Black Lodge Part 1. We open in Queens, New York. It's past 2 in the morning. Peter is regretting having seconds at Aunt May's. He's just trying to go home, but now he's got to go face to face with Firebrand. Peter even realizes that already this fight has gone on for too long. Usually this would be a piece of cake, but Peter ate too much cake. He was actually too full. He was tired. Now this is tedious. And then when Firebrand gets a hold of Peter's neck, it really starts to hurt. Firebrand unloads everything that he has, and then he sees Peter's suit start to melt and then rip apart. It's actually really brutal and pretty gory. By the time help arrives, he's unrecognizable. The cleanup crew literally thinks he's another supervillain. They're like, get him out of here, this burnt crispy man. Firebrand 2.0, whoever you are, bye. Peter received 3rd-degree burns on 80% of his body. Aunt May, where's the aloe? We need some aloe stat. Number 6, the Hulk. Mark Millar's Old Man Logan begins in Volume 3 of Wolverine at issue 66, and this is now a future where supervillains have won. Sads. Hulk and She-Hulk had kids. Weird. The Hulklings, who would beat the crap out of you if you didn't pay rent, because basically everybody had their own territory, so Logan had to pay up. Hawkeye, who was also much older and now also blind, needed Logan's assistance to get across the country and deliver a secret package. This was a way Logan can make some of that rent money, so perfect, let's do it. Now when they get back from their trip, things have progressed in an awful way. Hulk Gang took out Logan's entire family because Well, they were bored, of course. They're a little messed up in the head if you didn't already piece that together. So Logan dishes out some payback. No more games, no more talking. Logan's here to now get this done. Logan gets Banner right through the old chest plate, but we all know what happens next. He freaks out, he hulks out rather, and then he eats Logan. If you can't beat him, eat him, I guess. Now you'd think this would for sure be the end of it, but that's when Logan pops out from inside Banner. After what's gonna happen to Wolverine near the end of this list, it's nice to see him come out on top, or just come out of a body in general, that's fun. Number 5, Jason Todd. Of course this is going to be on the list. A Death in the Family is a 4-part storyline written by Jim Starlin and published in 1988. It contains perhaps one of the biggest, darkest moments in DC Comics history because we see the Joker beat the second Robin, Jason Todd. And when I say beat him, I mean he beat him with a crowbar and then used an explosive for good measure. He was a goner, for sure. And also, it was your parents' fault. Pause this video, go yell at them, come back, like it, click play. Yeah, DC left it up to readers how this story ends for Robin. Nowadays, fans are coming together on Twitter to see director cuts of movies that haven't even been released yet. So it's a little better now. We have a bit more of a squad. The actual beatdown, of course, is awful, but emotionally the Joker destroys the boy wonder as well. He used Jason Todd's birth mother, he blackmailed her in order to get closer to Jason, and it worked. Betrayed by his birth mother, and then the Joker too killed her. Double whammy, triple whammy. 4 whammies, I don't know, all the whammies. Number 4, Green Arrow. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, issue 85. Let's talk about it. The first few pages, we see Oliver Queen walking at night trying to get home when all of a sudden some punks, some fools try and rob him. Now this is a day in the park for most of our superheroes. Now it's not like he was tired or maybe he didn't see it coming like Peter, he ate too much cake. He actually was in a bad mood. He had lady troubles, he was ready to fight. He was like, okay, I'm looking for this. You guys picked the wrong guy, let's go. He's like getting warmed up. He was feeling good. And then a guy pulled out a crossbow, because you know, all those thugs that carry crossbows through the city, and then Ollie gets shot right through the shoulder with an arrow. Irony at its finest. Number 3, Green Lantern. Now this one comes from Justice League issue 5. It's been referred to as the Punch since. In this comic, Batman comes in to take over the Justice League International, and Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, doesn't share the same enthusiasm as the rest of the team. For more than one issue, he makes it very clear that he doesn't like this new leader. So naturally, this conflict was growing, and although Batman was obviously a better fit for the role, he challenged Batman to a fight without the use of his power ring, and then Batman proceeded to knock him out with one punch. Of course, he's Batman, and without the ring, you're just a guy. You're just a regular Guy Gardner. Blue Beetle even jumped up. He got pumped, and he started yelling, one punch, one punch, one punch, just adding insult to injury, literally. This is a great moment, an even greater lesson, but Green Lantern getting knocked out by a human punch shouldn't have happened in the first place. Don't start fights you can't win without the only thing that makes you win those fights. I don't know, just my advice. Number 2, Martian Manhunter. In Final Crisis 1, John Jones' Martian Manhunter gets trapped in a prison. See, he originally went there undercover as John Jones in his human form and would regularly report back to Batman. That's when the villains decided to break free and then he was left behind. It's not looking good at this point, because Human Flame had now given the villain Libra instructions to kill Martian Manhunter. So Libra went and he did so. He stabbed Martian Manhunter with a staff right in front of the entire staff, the entire secret society of supervillains, and then upon his death he returned back to his Martian form, and in his final moments he still managed to send that message back to the Justice League. Not even death will stop this guy's plans. The Justice League held his funeral on his home planet, Mars, with Superman giving the eulogy. His final moments were expanded on in the Final Crisis Requiem storyline, teaching us more about his homeworld and the inhabitants of it. You can find this in Justice League Volume 2 in issues 6 and 7. And finally, number 1, my personal favorite, Wolverine. I mentioned Wolverine getting something bad. This is it. Now we're going to talk about it. This next one comes from Punisher Volume 6, Issue 17, appropriately titled Aim Low, written by Garth Ennis. So we find Wolverine with his face, well, without a face. His face is gone at this point. He got his face blown off by the Punisher, and you'd think that would be pretty bad, but it of course gets so much worse. Frank Castle fixes his aim a little bit lower and then pulls the trigger, reassuring Logan that they'll grow back. Frank was trying to get Wolverine out of the way, and this put him down for a bit, definitely, but he's still not out for the count just yet. Never turn your back on the knucklehead. Wolverine is literally crawling towards the Punisher now. He's like, shoot me, bomb me, cut me up, I don't care, I'm just gonna keep coming at you. Well, it's kind of hard to move when there's a steamroller on top of you, no? The fact that he did it slowly too, starting with the feet and then slowly moving it up to his head and then putting it in park when it was on his head, I can't even fathom what this would feel like. I can't pull a hangnail some days. Like a steamroller, what kind of Austin Powers way to go out is that?
Coming in number 10, we've got the Thing. The beefiest, brawniest, burliest, surliest member of the Fantastic Four doesn't often lose in a battle of might. Wits could be another thing, and when it comes to speed and timing, things could end poorly too. But on most days, there isn't going to be anyone stronger than Benjamin Grimm. After being hit with some wild cosmic rays, his body underwent some crazy changes. His skin became rough and rock-like, taking on an orangey hue and becoming near impenetrable. His toughness and density are through the roof, making him very hard to hurt. Along with his inbuilt armor, he also has a whole lot of additional wicked physical traits. Based on strength alone, he's one of the most powerful characters going. In fact, most consider him a consistent and classic rival to the Hulk. Incredible stamina, durability, and sensory adaptation round out his legendary bulk, and he technically is immortal if he chose not to revert to his human form every year. He doesn't age, can't really get hurt, and packs quite a wallop. In fact, after standing toe-to-toe with the mighty Green Mutant many times, the Thing has indeed definitively won against the Hulk before. So how does he manage to lose a fight? Well, you can't win them all. When the Hulk heads to New York to get revenge on the Avengers, the Fantastic Four is waiting for him. Ben Grimm hops out in front and takes on the Hulk, and the battle is pretty evenly matched. However, at the end of the massively destructive fight, the Hulk reigns supreme. The Thing collapses, totally wiped, and the Hulk is able to move right along. Dang, and we thought that incredible stamina would go on forever. Maybe next time, right? Coming in number 9, we've got Mark Grayson. This one's a bit of a bummer, don't you think? A burgeoning young hero getting his ass beat by his own father. The father that seemed to promise to protect the Earth from any threat? Such is the life of a Viltrumite. Mark Grayson, aka Invincible, was just getting a handle on his powers. He'd realized how strong he truly could be, but his dad, Omni-Man, was definitely stronger. But that's not too big a deal, right? Papa Nolan is gonna stick around and defend the Earth too, yeah? Teach Mark the ways of being a hero, maybe hit some sweet dance moves to a song called Hot Milk. Wrong. Omni-Man is actually evil and looking to conquer as many planets as possible. Damn, dude. When Mark attempts to stop him after he kills a plethora of supers, Omni-Man lays an absolute beatdown on his son. It is super brutal, my goodness. Coming in number 8, we've got John Stewart. One of Earth's Green Lanterns, John Stewart is blessed with all the powers one would expect. As leader of the Green Lantern Corps and a member of its honor guard, he's quite the formidable fighter. Renowned for his sharpshooting and building skills, not many can hold a candle to this hero. However, he isn't perfect, and all of the powers in the world won't help you if you get too cocky. The classic tale of human hubris. Nobody's immune to it, no way. While working with Martian Manhunter to contain the anti-life equation, they realized they'd need to save the planet of Xanshi. The folks there were slowly being poisoned, and to make matters worse, the planet was laden with bombs that were set to blow. John, thinking that he was super powerful and unstoppable, decided to fly an injured Martian Manhunter to safety before heading down solo. Guess what though? The bombs were yellow. You know, the one color that renders a Green Lantern useless. So all he could do was get the hell out of Dodge, leaving Xanshi to an explosive doom. Damn. Coming in number 7, we've got Nightcrawler. Most folks like living life without a gaping hole in their chest, but most folks also can't teleport around in the blink of an eye. It's a tough world for a teleporting superhero, especially one with a drive to help as many people as possible. Nightcrawler, being a genuine hero, puts his life on the line and pays the price. In a future where there are no more mutants thanks to a lovely spell cast by Scarlet Witch, only one hope remains. Incidentally, this hope comes in the form of a mutant girl named Hope. Subtle. When Bastion, a super advanced sentinel from the future, comes back to kill Hope, Nightcrawler gets in his way. Unfortunately, in the way also means that the Sentinel's arm is right through Nightcrawler's chest. Oops. In a last-ditch effort to keep Hope alive, Nightcrawler uses all of his strength to teleport her away from the murderous machine. Once he completes that task, he runs out of fuel and dies. Coming in number 6, we've got Eric O'Grady, and this one is painful. Eric O'Grady, one of the least lovable Ant-Men, lived his life like a bit of a loser. However, he was still indeed Ant-Man, with all of the powers that came along with the title. Plenty of potential there, that's for sure. And even though he was no saint in life, he was definitely a hero in death. Somehow a child fell into the clutches of the Descendants, a group of artificially intelligent super cyborgs. They may look human and act human, but they definitely aren't. And this is proven when they delve deep into the depths of cruelty and stomp poor Eric to death. He saved the kid, but was unable to come away with his own life. Ouch. After being reduced to a bloody pulp, the cyborgs also took his likeness and created a new Ant-Man, one that would infiltrate his old team and betray them at a critical junction. Coming in number 5, we've got Shazam. What? Shazam? The closest thing to Superman we've got without getting Superman. Who's gonna beat him in a fight? I suppose you can't necessarily count on him to be at 100% mental fortitude though, considering that underneath all of that ancient magic and musculature, there is a 15-year-old with a strong heart. There's a lot that goes on in a teenager's brain that might cause him to make some bad decisions, you know? Like in the case of Shazam versus Harley Quinn, for example. Quinn tosses a hammer at Shazam, who seems to think it's gonna be an easy fight. He has the strength and reflexes to deal with that hammer no problem. But here's the thing, he keeps talking to Quinn after he catches the hammer and doesn't really do anything with the wayward weapon. So what happens next? The hammer explodes. Oh boy. Shazam, you could have won the fight, but you didn't. Coming in number 4, we've got Iron Man. Oh Tony, if only you were better at getting along with people. All throughout Iron Man's history, Tony Stark has been a bit insufferable. Although he's a super genius with a heart of, well, maybe not gold, but something like it, he tends to rub people the wrong way. So even if he manages to defeat plenty of supervillains and keep the world safe, he's still got some other stuff to contend with. From time to time, he'll do something that really makes another hero mad, and that hero might decide to fight Iron Man. And in a lot of these cases, Iron Man doesn't fare all that well. Like, he's lost to pretty much every mainline Avenger at some point, from Spider-Man to the Hulk to Thor to even Black Widow. It's tough when you paint such a big target on your back, but I'm sure he understands. Coming in number 3, we've got Jean Grey. To be immensely powerful. Too bad the world isn't fair and something can always go wrong. Take Jean Grey for example. Telekinetic and telepathic powers beyond compare, a connection with the powerful cosmic entity the Phoenix, a bunch of awesome mutant pals. What could be better? Well, not experiencing a terrifying magnetic aneurysm, I guess. Yeah, that did not turn out too well for poor Jean Grey. After discovering that their new member Zorn was actually Magneto in disguise, the X-Men jumped into action. This did not prevent Magneto from releasing an insane wave of magnetic energy, absolutely wrecking Jean's brain though. Unfortunately, there was nothing she could do about it and she perished almost instantly. Yikes. Coming in number 2, we've got Captain America. Now the tables have turned a little. We talked about Iron Man having a tough time stacking up against his longtime pals a little earlier, now is his time to shine. In Civil War, we see Captain America and Iron Man get into a bit of a kerfuffle, and by bit of a kerfuffle I do mean brutal brawl with all sorts of stuff on the line. It's a crazy fight with plenty of killer moments and momentum swings, but in the end, Tony Stark comes out on top. Damn, Cap. And finally at number 1, we've got Silver Surfer. Not the power cosmic. That's absolutely wild. This Herald of Galactus is one of the most powerful ones going, and has strength beyond compare. He can harness immense energy from the universe and channel it in different ways. On most days, barring insane divine intervention or other heroes becoming ludicrously overpowered, he's unstoppable, a force to be reckoned with. However, there have been entities that fought with Silver Surfer and came out on top. Doesn't happen often, but it isn't totally impossible. There's the wild bit from Marvel Zombies that sees this cosmic power get taken down, and there are even a few non-zombie runs where he's taken down a peg. Adam Warlock knocked him out to prevent Silver Surfer from joining a fight against Thanos. Oh, and at some point Deadpool gained the powers granted to Heralds of Galactus too, which was very interesting. Made for a good fight, that's for sure. So even the most powerful beings can be defeated from time to time, eh?
Number 10, Deadpool. We'll kick this list off on a messy, red, bloody good note. 2 red guys slashing each other up, both are kind of insane. Let's talk about it. Deadpool vs. Carnage 2014. Right, so after Cletus Cassidy escaped a prison, the Merc with a mouth was the only one crazy enough to track him down. In order to track down a maniac, you kind of low-key have to be one. You gotta think like them, right? Wade thinks he can figure him out, and he also thinks that a rocket launcher can take down Carnage. Kind of a fool if you ask me. I mean, in all fairness, fire and sound waves, they work, but it's Carnage we're talking about, a little bit stronger than our Venom guy. Wade gets a closer look, and although he likes guns, swords, and the occasional weed whacker, he thinks one of his grenades ought to do something. One of the many that he has hidden in crevices and places that we don't talk about. And it does, for a page. Carnage lays there, sans head for a moment or two, but backup arrives in the form of Shriek. Deadpool then gets his ass handed to him, and Wade gets impaled over and over and over again, with the last hit practically being the size of a tree just going through his body. Horrible. And then in the end, Deadpool needed a symbiote upgrade himself just to keep the fight fair. Number 9. Spider-Man. Of course we have to talk about Spider-Man getting his ass whooped as well. It's no surprise that Peter is on the top of Carnage's naughty list, and in Carnage It's a Wonderful Life, Dr. Kafka and Security Chief Jameson get a glimpse inside Carnage's mind, and it's literally just a room full of Spider-Man being tortured. That's all he thinks about, just different versions of him being tortured in different horrible ways. I think about like candy corn and stuff, I don't know, I guess I'm normal. The guy's twisted, even in his head his actions are brutal, but daydreaming aside, when Carnage does get his real life hands on Spider-Man, it's so much worse. The Ultimate Comics introduced Carnage in Ultimate Spider-Man 61, and just one issue later Carnage figured out the best way to hurt Spider-Man was to attack his heart, like Willem Dafoe yelled in the first Spider-Man movie. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up just to get some good spirits involved, you know, get it kind of out of the grim, dark tone that we're sticking with for most of this, that would be great. It helps our studio out quite a bit. You guys are awesome. Let's get right back to this list. Number 8. Man-Wolf. In Volume 2 of Carnage, Issue 2, Special Agent Claire Dixon of the FBI assembled this task force to try and hopefully put an end to Carnage's madness. She has Eddie Brock to help out, but this time around he's the host of the Toxin Symbiote, and together they use a woman named Manuela Calderon as bait to bring out Cletus. See, she was the only survivor from his last rendezvous, and by rendezvous I mean massacre. Honestly, I wouldn't agree to that. Kudos to her, it's pretty brave. So she lured him into a mine shaft and then successfully cornered and trapped Carnage. Now what? The task force is also trapped in there with a man named John Jameson, but John's not around at the moment. No, instead Cletus now has to deal with the Man-Wolf. Must have been a full moon tonight. A lot of fur, a lot of blood laying around after this one. They're just throwing each other around this mine shaft. It's pretty grim. They're smashing their heads into rocks. It's kind of cool. The fact that it's a werewolf fighting Carnage, I mean, you either love it or you don't. Things suddenly take a turn when Carnage grabs that gemstone around John's neck, the stone that allows him to become Man-Wolf in the first place, and after that he turns back into a regular naked dude. He's dizzy, he's exhausted, and he's in, of course, immense pain. He lost his footing and then after fell from a cliff. He was so close to taking him down, but you know, had to go turn into a wolf. Classic. Did you know Jupiter has 52 moons? If you were a werewolf on Jupiter, you'd be so busy. Number 7. Silver Surfer. In The Amazing Spider-Man issue 430, once again Cletus was running around the city just attacking bystanders, throwing desks, giving people a finger, just anything horrible, being the worst ever. Luckily, the Silver Surfer was in the cosmic neighborhood and got to offer a helping silver hand to Spider-Man. The symbiote sees the Silver Surfer and it's intrigued, so much so that it leaves Cletus naked again on the street in order to bond with Silver Surfer. He sees all that power and he's like, I'll take some of that please. He then becomes Carnage Cosmic, and I gotta admit he looks pretty sweet. In terms of hosts, that's a pretty high bar to set right there. Silver Surfer ended up handling him, you know, getting him out, but honestly, I'm kind of disappointed. Carnage on a surfboard, it's pretty intriguing, sign me up. Number 6. Ghost Rider. Alejandra Jones first appeared in Marvel Comics in Ghost Rider Volume 7. She was sold as a child and ended up in Nicaragua, where she trained in a temple to solely become the next Ghost Rider. When absolute carnage goes down, she's trying to now protect her village, but things get crazy when Carnage rips out her spine and then eats it. Now, normally that would be the end of it. Like, that's enough to be, you know, considered a beatdown, an awful beatdown. And for Jones, that was the end of it, but when Carnage ate that spirit spine, he now obtained the spirit of vengeance temporarily, which is just ultimate madness. I kind of like the way he looks though. I mean, you know, completely evil and spine eating aside, I like it. Number 5, the Mercury team. The more fighters we have, the better chance we have, right? When the US Army put together a task force called the Mercury Team, they thought they had a chance because each member was a soldier from a unique military branch. And also, they each got to use a symbiote for select missions. That ought to help out a little bit. Like say when Carnage is loose in Colorado, time to call these guys in. The 4 symbiotes they use are Lasher, Phage, Agony, and Riot. And yes, they also have a symbiote attack dog, which is just amazing. Still cute. Goopy, but cute. When they aren't being manned, they're to remain on ice, just waiting to be used again. They sound like the only chance to win here, but when Carnage finds their secret base first, with all those frozen suits and symbiotes, well, what's the point after that? This was the last we see of the team, obviously, but those 4 symbiotes bonding with Wade, you gotta admit, that's a pretty great deal. Number 4, Nova. One day you're skateboarding, looking for your missing father, and then all of a sudden you fall off your board and wake up to Rocket Raccoon and Gamora. You know, those classic days. Yep, the duo wake him up and say they're also looking for his father and his black Nova helmet. So now this kid takes up the Nova title, works with the Avengers, the New Warriors, and the Champions, completely stepped up to bat. He was 15 only, kid was killing it. And in the Avengers X-Men Axis storyline, our heroes and villains switch sides. Their moral compass completely flips. So afterwards, when Carnage goes back to psycho mode, he needs to now soak up more evil. He's got to make up and remind himself who he is. So he goes to Sam's school and then makes a mess there. Horrible. Those poor kids. Those poor kids. Nova fights him off, but the fight is more of a tie than anything. They just both kind of do this. Nova's he's not looking too good here. Number 3, Venom. Okay, we're finally seeing Venom and Carnage go at it on the big screen next month. Hopefully, I'm fully convinced Woody Harrelson is going to steal the show. I'm so excited, but how will the fight end? In the comics, Venom and Carnage have had some serious blowouts. Will Venom eat Carnage like a midnight snack? Will Spider-Man have to come in and take Venom's side, singing Strangers in the Night, of course, while they do it? The beatdowns go back and forth for Venom and Carnage for the most part, but one of the best storylines for me was, of course, Absolute Carnage. Carnage's connection to Null makes him this godly version of himself, and he gets beat so hard in the first issue that Venom is the one to suggest leaving. He's like, hey, I can fix you, but we have to leave like now, like ASAP Rocky, we gotta go. Number 2, Miles, Human Torch, and more. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 7099, we see Red Goblin on the cover. The lovely combo comes to life when Osborn gets his hands on the Carnage symbiote. In their first battle, Spider-Man lost, but afterwards Peter called forward some help, some backup. He had the assistance this time around of Miles Morales, Human Torch, Clash, and Silk. Usually the Human Torch would be enough to get some damage done, but with both villains now with their powers combined for Red Goblin, it was much harder. It was almost useless to blast fire at them. They all got their butts handed to them. Nobody was prepared for this level of power. But luckily, Anti-Venom came in to throw some hands back because Red Goblin was seconds away from finishing all of them off. Even after Flash had healed them, they didn't spring back up and start kicking people in the neck again. They were down for the count. It wasn't looking good. They were no longer a formidable team at all. And finally, number 1, the Avengers. Speaking of teams getting their ass kicked, somebody as big and as bad as Carnage, who else to call but Earth's mightiest? In Carnage USA, Carnage has the ability to create clones of himself. Now he can use multiple hosts, and he takes over a town at one point. It's really stressful. The team heads to the town to figure out a solution, so we got Spider-Man, Cap, Logan, The Thing, and Hawkeye. Everybody ends up getting the symbiote treatment, resulting in one of the coolest but scariest situations ever. Spider-Man tried to warn the team, but they did their Avengers thing and rushed in as a group to kick some ass. Oops, everybody gets hit except for, you guessed it, Spider-Man. So now it's up to Peter to save the entire team of Avengers in Carnage USA. What a ride, you must check it out.